Hello, I'm Harry Stachini and you are listening to the Staff Room Podcast, the show where each week I share anonymous stories from teachers who are overworked, underpaid and close to a mental breakdown. So think of it as teacher therapy, as they remind us of all the troublemakers, class clowns and the flat-out criminals we all remember from school. So join me and my guests and hear what your teachers really have to say. And we're off, episode number 13 of the Staff Room Podcast. How's it going, everyone? Hope you're all right. Thank you very much for tuning in yet again for another episode. And hello to all the new listeners, because I've noticed over the past few weeks I've had a few new people pop up on the map of the world. You know, different locations. So hello to Jersey. I know it's part of the UK, but still it's an island, and that for me is another victory. But I've never been there. It just looks small on a map. So it says I've got listeners there. Don't know how many precisely, just a percentage of listeners. But yeah, I don't know if that's like half the island. I don't know how many people live there. But if you're listening and you're from Jersey today, hello. Thank you very much for tuning in. Much appreciated. I've got a great episode lined up for you today because I've got two stories to share with you. The first one is an anonymous teacher story, as ever, what the podcast is built on. Thank you very much to the teacher that sent this story in, because essentially they've had to teach one of their students a bit of a life lesson, right? And I'm not going to say any more than that. I'll just let it all come out within the episode. And the second story that I've got to share with you today is a news story that someone sent to me. So after episode 10, when I had the provoked pedagogue on, it was Alex Price, the man that wrote the anonymous blog while working at a school that ended up with him getting sacked. I've had a few people send me news articles when teachers have been in the news, and I most recently got one from Freddie Quinn, who was the guest on episode 4, who's actually a former teacher himself. And the news story he sent me was about a teacher who was on a school trip in Costa Rica and took a load of kids to a strip club. And, as a result, he basically got banned from teaching. But the news article lists all the antics that went on the school trip. And it was just entertaining to read. So I thought definitely worth sharing with you guys. So I will be sharing that after I've shared the anonymous story for this week. So you've got that to look forward to. The guest for today to help me go through these stories is Daniel Muggleton, who is a good mate of mine and an Australian comedian, the first international guest that I've actually had on the podcast. So very, very excited to have him on. Dan is someone that I met a couple of years ago when we were doing a gig in Somerset in this like tiny little brewery. And it was a great gig, but I remember watching Dan and just thinking, God, this guy is like really naturally funny. And I didn't realise at the time that he'd only just arrived in the UK. But he spent about 2.5 years in the UK and established himself like really, really well. But wasn't surprising because he's just a naturally funny fella. He seems to have done more in the UK in 2.5 years than I've done in my entire life of being here. But we do have a bit of a laugh about that within the episode. But yeah, just before he left to go back to Australia, he supported Jim Jeffries on his tour at the Manchester Arena, right? And then he flew back to Oz and COVID came, so everything kind of, happened. But because Australia, things were managed differently compared to the UK, he was still able to perform, and he's been really like kind of hitting another level this year. So we recorded this episode just after he'd finished doing his solo show at the Sydney Comedy Festival, and he just finished performing in front of about 400 people for his own show as well, which is great. And it was really, really good to chat with him because I've not spoken to him in ages and I've not seen him in ages. So I enjoyed speaking to him. So I really hope you enjoy listening to the episode. Very, very funny fella. I mean, I think he's hilarious. He does have material available that's out there if you're keen to go and watch it. On Amazon Prime, he's got his special that's called Let's Never Hang Out. He's got 3 albums in total of jokes. The most recent one is called Unprecedented, and that is available on Spotify. You can find it if you go to @Daniel Muggleton on Instagram and then follow his link in his bio. And yeah, you can find it through there, but definitely worth checking out. Mind you, do it after listening to this, you know what I mean? I mean, at least give this episode a shout, right? Because I woke up at 5:30 in the morning to get myself in the zone to start recording at 6:30 for this, because the time difference was a bastard. But definitely worth it, because we had a good time, and it was nice to chat to him. I also learned as well, which I was quite surprised at, because Dan is like very laid back, and you'll probably hear that in his tone. He's just like so chill. But I didn't realise that he went to private school in Australia, which was very. It sounded well, I was going to say like premium, naturally, because it's a private school, but it almost sounded a bit like the equivalent of an Eton, that type of establishment. And he was a very smart lad at school, but that kind of got him into a bit of grief because, well, put it this way, he called his mum and dad by their first names, which is weird, but then that kind of affected his relationship with adults just across the board. So, yeah, a bit of a gobshite, but a well-educated one. Let's just, put it that way. But yeah, he went to like a boarding school, type of kid that he talks a lot about looking back and thinking, God, I was like a total arsehole as a kid, which I found very surprising because, the person that when I met him anyway, he was, he just always seemed very, very chilled, but interesting. So that's why it's always like one of my favourite parts with chatting with a guest, finding about the school days, because naturally people change, but of all the people that I thought might have gone to private school, I never thought Daniel Muggleton would have been one of them. No offence to you, Dan, but yeah, you seemed above that. But, it was actually the vice versa. As a child, you were above that, and now you are very much just like, who gives a shit? But yeah, let's get cracking with this week's episode. This is me, Daniel Muggleton, and a math teacher who has a life lesson they desperately need to teach. Enjoy. First international guest, earliest person I've got up for to record this, so I've been looking forward to it. But yeah, as I say, the story that I've had come through has come in from a college maths teacher who essentially works with kids that have like failed their GCSEs at high school. Now,
okay, give me a little. Just sorry to interrupt.
Yeah,
college is that different to university?
Yeah, so college is like 16 to 18. And then you would go from college to uni. But this was one of the
international guests, international questions.
And, time zones as well. Because what is it? You like 5:30, 6 o'clock over there?
It's 4 p.m. on Sunday. I'm in the future.
But yeah, how does it work in Australia? Because like over here, obviously you have first school, you might go to middle school and then high school. I went to a combined school where it was like reception, so i.e. 4 years old to year 7, so you're 12, yeah. And then I went to high school where there was year 8 up till year 11, left at 16, went to college. This sounds like an army advert, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then finished college at 18 and then went to uni. So like, how does it work in Oz?
Okay, so in Australia, in the antipodes, as you Brits like to refer to us,
never heard of that myself.
We have preschool, which is 3 to 5. Okay. I think it's 3 to 5 now. They made it like 5, and then you have primary school, which is from kindergarten through to year 6. So you're like 12.
Yeah.
And then you turn 13 at high school in year 7, when high school is just from year 7 to year 12. And then you have university.
Right, okay.
You don't need to send your kids to preschool. Like, that's not government endorsed. That's just, you should probably send them.
Yeah.
It's to stop them being weird.
Bogans. Stop them becoming bogans, mate.
Nothing can stop them becoming bogans. It's a fast track.
Yeah, an early onset. We've diagnosed him with boganism. Yes. But yeah, what were you like at school? Because a lot of the guests I've had on, I find it interesting finding out. But can I just take a punt before you answer?
Fucking punt away.
Punt away, right? I reckon intelligent, yeah, because I know you got a couple of degrees, right?
Yes, so, that's true.
Smart lad. I reckon you were probably a bit wise in a sense, like a bit of a gobshite at times. Might ask the teacher questions where they're a bit like, okay, you're being, a little bit pry now. But overall, I'd say it was a good experience.
Look, so you're not far off. I mean, the perceptiveness of your as a teacher and a friend and a colleague is pivotal. But no, I was always in the top classes. I never really tried. I used to try, and I was definitely a shit to teachers in high school. In primary school, I was pretty good, but like I went to a very small primary school, and like not to be like weird, but I was just like the smartest kid in the class, and like I would get annoyed that everything was so slow because of all the other dumb cunts I went to school with. So I still remember, like, I yelled out an answer like this. Like, people were like, "What else?" There's like year 4. Like, I don't know. I think Australia's education system's not very good, but like it was like year 4, so we're like 10 or something, and like they were like, "Where else can you breathe through apart from your mouth?" And like they're like going around the room, and like people like ears, eyes, and I was like, "You breathe through your schnoz," which is an Australian word for for nose. Schnoz. I even used some slang there.
Nice.
And then everyone started laughing, and the teacher's like, "Yeah, happy Daniel, you've disrupted the class." I still remember that so vividly because I wasn't like a disruptive guy, like I wasn't like a class clown guy, but like I would just crack the shits. And like the one thing was in high school, like, all right, this is the best way I can describe it. I'm a child of divorce, and I'm an only child, so like I have no siblings. And my parents were always just people, you know what I mean? Like they were my mum and dad, but I would call them Leo and Patsy rather than mum and dad.
Really?
Because like, yeah, I was very like, I was never like a kid, I think is the best way I can describe it.
Okay, so you like hung around with adults, so
Yeah, so I was used to adults, and I wasn't used to just respecting adults because they were older than me. Like, respect your elders never made any sense to me because it's just like my elders got divorced. Like, they're also flawed people. Like, they're not to these pious grown-up figures.
Okay.
So, like, teachers would, like, expect me to respect them because they were my teacher, and I'd be like, no, like, you have to earn that. Like, you have to be a good teacher or nice or something. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, I'm not just going to do it. And I went to like a private school that was like pretty fancy. And like, I really rubbed some people the wrong way because they'd be like, blah, blah, blah. And I'd be like, why? And they just couldn't answer. And I'm like, what are we doing? You know, like, you're a dumb shit. Like, I'm aware the teachers that are smart and the teachers that are dumb, I'm smarter than a lot of you. Like, don't, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's
like you're teaching biology out of a fucking textbook because you can barely read, you diet Coke drinking cunt. Like, don't talk down to me. Like, you know what I mean? So that should give you a pretty good idea of who I was.
I said that was detailed. And so that's high school years then, yeah?
Yeah. In primary school, I was like quite sweet. I was just like, it was just a very small school. Like, so when I went to high school, I was like, this is crazy. Like, we had as many people in my high school year as I had in my school in primary school. Like, we had like 30 people a year in primary school. Wow. In high school, I had like 220 in the year. And it was like an all boys school, and it was like religious, and it's like wear the uniform and like all that kind of school spirit shit, which like obviously, as you can imagine, did not gel with my personality type. Like, I was a communist by the end of high school. Like, for real. I'd wear like Che Guevara t-shirts. That's too early to be a communist, you know? Like, you're supposed to be a communist in university, not in year 11. In year 11, you're supposed to be fingering people. I was reading the Communist Manifesto and not fingering people, unfortunately.
That took a turn that I didn't expect, you know what I mean? I thought, gobshite, I would have got a guess just because of how, you're not a dumb person, are you? But at the same time, I can't imagine you wouldn't have like sought it out and like confronted people. But at the same time, if they had annoyed you, you'd say something. But then the teachers that you kind of didn't gel with, like everyone's got one teacher that kind of sticks in the mind of like, you're all right, things weren't bad.
Yeah, I know. I had some great teachers. The teachers who took like a real interest because that's the thing. Like, in private school, like, they get paid enough money to have few enough students to check if one of the ones that should be doing well isn't doing really well.
Yeah.
So like, I was that kid a bit, but like the teachers liked it because like because like I could do really well or really badly. Like, it was quite exciting in like an otherwise just like overachieving kind of, because I was always in like the top stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
So like most of them are quite consistent, kind of boring people. Whereas like,
Okay, yeah,
I
you had an
was
edge to you.
inconsistent but interesting, like because I'd engage with stuff. If I found it interesting, otherwise I just ignore it completely.
I have the image of you as like a Riggs from Lethal Weapon, but in an educational setting. You know what I mean? Like good at what they're doing, but like things at the moment, they live in a trailer. It's on the beach. He's got a couple of dogs. He wears jeans. He can chase people in it all the time. Like that's what I see you as. Like you were the Riggs of secondary school, but a private school as well. Like because I've had guests on that went to private schools before, and they've had some proper like run-ins with teachers that weren't good, and the teachers almost like that level of expectation of going, well, because you're here. Like you can be treated differently. But then, was it a private school where you had to wear like little boater hats and stuff like that, or?
Yeah, kind of like the Australian version of that. Like it was like pretty private, but like not like prestigious. It was just like a private school. There's like prestigious ones that kind of have like a long history and you have to play rugby and all that shit. But like this was more like if you had the money, you could get in, but it was still expensive.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. It's become, I think it's become like more elite since I've left. But like I did like the international baccalaureate, not the Australian finishing certificate. Like I did the thing that they do in France.
Right.
Because like you
why?
could do that. It gives you like global qualifications, I guess. Like so you could go to like you could apply to any university with it.
Right. Okay. So then, if you hadn't got into comedy, because I can't imagine any other person that's gone to that school has come out and gone, yeah, do you know what? I'm going to go and do comedy for a bit.
Dude, there is a weird amount. Like
really
in the two, Steen Raskopoulos, who's people might know, he's been in like some British TV. I think he won or was nominated for Best Newcomer at Edinburgh. His sister Jordan Raskopoulos, who was part of Axis of Awesome, the Four Chord song. All the people from Axis of Awesome went to Trinity, I'm pretty sure. And then, who's the other one? I'm blanking on it. This is gonna. All right, this is gonna sound weird, but you got to understand this word has very different meanings in Australia and the UK. It's a guy called Superwog, and it's a YouTube personality. He's like this. I played rugby with his brother, Theo and Nathan Saden. They're Superwog, and they have like a huge following.
Okay.
Like
what is it they do? Like sketches and stuff like that?
Yeah, sketches. Because like WOG in Australia means like Greek, Italian, like Adidas, like sick car, like that kind of vibe. It has a very different connotation to in the UK. I know in the UK it's highly offensive and racist, but that is literally the name of the guy. Like I can't say it another way.
Yeah, it's a different culture. But like, so the context that you use it in then, if you said like sick car, so would you say like how what context? Give me an example.
Like you just like, for example, in the thing you saw, like I talk about stained glass windows in a Catholic church as like a bogan seeing that and be like, seems a bit woggy.
Right.
Like,
okay.
Like statues in the front lawn. Like you refer to the people as like wogs, and like it used to be offensive, kind of, but now they've kind of reclaimed it. But like it's okay for me to say. Yeah, like, even though I'm not Italian or anything.
Do you know what? The fact that you get, I remember that bit from your show, and I remember thinking immediately, I thought, yeah, racist like the idea, because I thought, every time I've walked past a window, I've never seen Jesus like black. You know what I mean? But the fact you've now explained it, I'm like, that makes total sense.
Yeah, I genuinely, it's one of those ones that I just cannot understand how it has such a different meaning in two countries. Like, especially Australia being like a former colony, but like, yeah, because like they say that in Australia it's an acronym for Western Oriental Gentleman.
Right. Okay.
That's like what it is. But you know, like honestly, just look. I highly recommend anyone listening to this just look up some Superwog, and you will get what the character is. It's like guy with the chain, like yelling at people. Like there's like a show in Australia called Fat Pizza that was really famous.
Right.
There's a movie called Wog Boy, which was super famous, about this Greek guy who was like trying to fuck kind of thing. That was, kind of like, so Ali G is kind of like the wrong parody of it because it's not necessarily criminal at all.
Okay.
Like, you know what I mean? Like that's not really
a bit boisterous.
Yeah, just like tracksuits, Subaru WRX, like big chain, fully sick. Like that's like kind of like the language you would associate with it. That car's fully sick.
Okay, with you. I'm gonna have
Yeah.
to check it out later. Super Wog. So
Yeah.
you are then, I suppose, part of a few alumni that have gone on to do something a touch creative rather than just litigate
It's
and
so
all.
strange. I think it's because we were the gay school.
Right.
Like, because we had this like thing in our boarding house about this guy like being raped with like a dildo. Like, it was a whole thing. Like, just when I went
Jesus.
there, and yeah, it was real bad. And like we
A
were just
rumor?
known as
Was
like
it a
the gay
rumor?
school. Pardon?
Was it a rumor?
No, it was true. Like they sued, like those payouts, like it was all real. Yeah, dude. Private school boarding houses are fucked, man. Like from what I've heard, like the UK is no different. Like just the trauma, like the sheer physical and mental trauma that you experience being in those things. Like I didn't do that. I didn't board because like I lived near the school. Like most people in our school didn't board.
Right. Okay.
But like yeah. So anyway, that happened. So like that's the thing. Like whenever you catch the bus, like as a Trinity student, like I had a guitar. I used to like do guitar lessons at school, and like the boys from like Ashfield Boys, which was like the public school down the road, I'd be like, "Go school, go school." Is that the Anaconda? Is that the Anaconda in your guitar case? Like, because that was the name of the dildo.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's a whole. I think if you just cop that level of abuse for no reason, then comedy becomes like a pretty good career option.
Yeah, I think as well though, it's easier to punch up than down. You know what I mean? So the idea of privilege, if you've got that and other people haven't, yeah, they're going to shit on you. Especially as well if you can play guitar.
Yeah. Oh man, no, not well. I tell you, I don't know what I was thinking with that. Like absolute chaos. Like I learned German at school. What the fuck what was I doing out there? I was a bizarre communist,
A bizarre communist. But then you didn't have any. What was like your standout teacher, one that you remember fondly?
Oh, Lachlan, Mr. Stockbridge, and Mr. Callback. There were two. They were both English teachers. Because probably bizarrely, like English was always my worst subject. Because I could never. I'd always like I'd understand everything, but then in the way that I'd write the essay, it wasn't broad enough to bring to get that opinion across. Like I'd get my marks back and they'd be like, damn, what happened again? Like, it just wasn't like I wasn't getting like the 90% kind of shit that I should have been getting. And like, yeah. And they would, and I'd explain it was like, what did you think happened? And I explained it and they're like, that's perfect. The way that you just explained it to me, perfect. This is not that. But I also I never proofread any assignments I ever did at school. I just wrote them once and sent them in.
Mate, that's a level of confidence that I would love to have when it comes to writing something.
But just it's pure laziness, really. It was just I just would procrastinate, not do it, and then I just finish it and just send it in. I had spelling errors and stuff in my essays.
Mate, I even now, if I had to write on the board in a class and the kids will throw out a word, what was it? Insurmountable the other day. And I was just like, yeah, someone's going to have to tell me how to spell that. And the kid went, you don't know how to spell it? I was like, yeah, all right, I don't. Okay. And I just wear it on my sleeve, just my spelling is dog shite. But when I was at school, I was low ability, but at the same time, I was instilled in me that you've got a graft. So I did all right in my GCSEs. I came out with decent grades, but in comparison to what I was predicted anyway. And from then it's just been almost okay. We just keep trying at something, and eventually things will work out. But yeah, if I had half-assed anything, Jesus Christ, mate, there would have been hell to pay. My dad would be like, I'm not sending you to free school for you to sit around and do fuck all.
Yeah. That's so funny. Free school.
Free school.
Do you think the school is free? Yes, I know it's free.
I'm always curious with private schools, just before I get into the story here, were you school dinners on a different level?
Well, we don't have school dinners. You guys, it's like a cafeteria, right? And everyone gets fed by the school. Do you pay for them, or do you just kind of?
Well, yeah, it's the kids pay, so it's they get money put onto an account. That's how it worked at our place. You used to pay on your thumb, so your thumbprint was your card.
Really?
Yeah, and then you could have a limit of £3 on it. I had no limit, so sometimes I'd buy 6 lunches for my mates, and then the next day they come in and pay me back. And because a meal might be £2.50 or something like that, or £3, they would just they'd say I'll take £3.50 or £4 back. Brilliant.
Right. Yeah. We had like a cafeteria that you could buy. Like I think in Australia, like a lot of people bring their lunch in. I was a fucking brat though. Like I never brought my lunch, like ever.
You had someone
Like
carry it
6
for
years
you.
at school. No, I was just like sandwiches are shit. Nah. And now as an adult, fucking love a sandwich. Like sign me up. Like one of my favorite food groups, the sandwich, so good. But as a youth, I was like, nah, cold as fucked. I eat hot food. I'm a grown up. And like, yeah, I know, what a piece of shit, honestly. Could anyone be less likable than me halfway through this podcast? But like, anyway, so it wasn't like next level. We had like pizza pockets, which was like, the pizza, like in the pizza thing inside the little sack.
Yeah.
Like it was like a little ball of pizza. Crispy chicken tenders. That was big. And you have them with sweet chili sauce, sweet chili tenders. But then like there was like a special of the day generally that was like butter chicken, like, curry rice kind of thing.
Yeah.
Or like, just like different things like that. Like lasagna. Was it lasagna or like penne or something? Like,
No, that's not a bad lunch, that, yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't like particularly fancy. Like, yeah, I wouldn't say
I was expecting
that's
like
where
a
the money
pheasant
went.
or something like that, you know what I mean? Or like
yeah.
every day's a hog roast.
Dude, pheasants. It's quail, brother. Come on, let's be real. If you're gonna be fancy, pheasant and woodcock, get the fuck out of here. I have been on a shoot though. I told you that, right? I went on a shoot in the UK.
No.
Like for real. Yeah. With like antique shotguns and shit. It was like proper, Burberry terrorist vibe.
You were in the UK for 2 years and you've already done more in the UK than I've done in my entire life of being here.
But that's like anyone who comes to Australia, man. They're like, yeah, we drove all the way up to Cairns and like, went to the rainforest. You've done that? And I'm like, no.
No, but I have been clay pigeon shitting. Thank you.
No, dude, this is like real. Like they buy the pheasant and woodcock to go on the farm, and you go around with like the beagles and shit, and hit the trees with sticks and shoot them with shotguns and whatever. Yeah,
jeez,
it was chaos, man.
Do I know the person you went with? Are they a comedian?
No. This is a family friend of my dad's when he used to travel. When he was like, just this long-haired, bearded, terrorist-looking dude who kept getting detained in Germany because they thought he was part of like the Beta Meinhof like gang. Because he's just, my dad's hair's darker than mine. His eyebrows are like the same. And like, yeah, he had this big beard. He genuinely looked like a criminal. Like, he looked like a fugitive just rolling around with his little fucking camera taking photos. But yeah, this family friend, he's a relative, well, like a descendant of Jane Austen. So, yeah, so we got to go on a shoot. This when I was like 19, I think. 19 or 20, something like that. I flew over and he picked me up from the airport and we went out to Norfolk and like, yeah, just went on a shoot. Yeah, and like they had goose left over from Christmas and I was like, this is fancy, dude.
Yeah, that's insane. Nice gaff, nice big house.
Yeah, like one of those like estate kind of.
Yeah. What do you reckon the interest rate on that is for the mortgage? What do you reckon?
Somehow I reckon it's paid off, brother. Somehow. Somehow I think that's been passed down to the family for a bit,
Yeah.
Because he was explaining that to me. He's like, people bought in, like down the road, like they bought one of the houses and they'll never be accepted into the community. And I was like, why? And they're like, because they're not from here, they're not part of this.
That's
wild.
That's a bit, what's it called? Odd, you know what I mean? Just like people are people, you know what I mean? You've had to pay for your house. Yeah, well, you're not my friend. Okay.
Yeah, you're not part of the Norfolk Gun Club.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was very interesting. It was very interesting. Like that was my introduction to the UK. That was like the first thing I did when I got off a plane when I went to the UK when I was 20.
How high was the bar set?
Well, it's funny because like I didn't really like it. Like I was like, this ain't great. Like me. Like I like Shoreditch and paying £2 for a hamburger that's definitely going to give me some kind of disease. Like that's what I like.
You had your privilege early on, and as you got older, you were like, no, I want to live that communist lifestyle and push things.
Exactly, but not share any of the money.
Yeah, exactly. That's all mine. And can you deposit it? Because I've only got a Monzo, right? Yeah. I will get cracking with this. So, I started with. Hello, the staff room. I'm a college maths teacher. This means that all the kids that didn't pass their GCSEs at school come to me when they go to college. This particular class were all art students who were, as you can imagine, kind of quiet, reasonably smart, and generally kind of weird. They did. They did get a little bit leery throughout the year, right? I distinctly remember one student spoiling Endgame on the day of its release by entering the class quiz with the name "Iron Man is dead." Lol. Okay, which I mean, what a way to do it. But at the same time, I don't know if you're getting upset about that. I think you've got bigger problems.
Yes.
There was also one public service student in the class due to a scheduling error. He was definitely a bit of a wrong'un. However, this one occasion with a student we'll call Peter sticks out the most. He was definitely a bit of a strange one. He wore a parcel brown trench coat almost all of the time and carried cassette tapes at all times, whilst listening to Guardians of the Galaxy on soundtrack, which is incredibly specific. Like, I don't know what that's got in your head, but I've just got like a noir detective. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Gotcha. Black and white lamppost. Yeah.
And this is the person that sent this in. That I know this hasn't happened years ago. You've got to be fairly bold to carry off a parcel brown trench coat at all times, no matter what the weather. You know what I mean? Big buckle across the middle, I imagine. But you know, everyone's going. You're trying to find your identity as a kid, aren't you? I had a few phases. Well, a phase in year 8 where I listened to like Too Much Fall Out Boy. And it was just
that's
like
a good phase. Bit emo, little emo.
I wouldn't say it was necessarily emo, but it was. I look back at it. I put it this way: a year after that, I was like, "Yeah, I'm going to start shopping somewhere else," and I think it made a huge difference to me. There was a point when I was shopping in Next Men's from like the age of, I think it was year 9. And then when I got to year 10, I was like, "Yeah, I'm not a 40-year-old man, so I'm gonna branch out a bit."
Harry, are you sure you're not a 40-year-old man? I know you quite well, and if you would be like, "Well, describe Harry, 40-year-old man," that's not inaccurate. You know what I mean?
Where's Harry?
Like,
he's probably out
bring
walking.
up lawn, like you'd bring up lawn. You know, like no one's asking about lawn, but Harry's like, "Okay, so I should be getting to that. It's a bit overgrown out there."
Yeah, to be fair. Since we moved into our house, that was one thing that kind of spun me out, was the fact that I was 25 when we moved in, and it was just like, I've got like a garden. You like, these are things now that you like. All the neighbours are old. Well, they're not old people; they're parents, and like the amount of Amazon people that come round, or people that have knocked on the door and say, "Are your parents in?" And it's like, "No, we own the house. Like, we do officially live here." So I think I'm doing very well to blend into my natural habitat.
Yes.
But yeah, so he said, what was it? Yeah, full parcel brown trench coat. So he was a nice kid, but he wasn't amazing at maths. He sat near the front with the wrong'un, the public service student. And I'm not just being mean about the student. He told me he actually kicked a dog on the way to college once, which I don't think makes you a wrong'un. You're just a dickhead if you're kicking a dog.
Why would, again, bringing that up out of nowhere? What's a public service student?
I'm not entirely sure. I'm guessing it's someone that they've been assigned to the class for reasons that are kind of like outside of their control. So it's like they're almost like maybe in some sort of social care, right? That's what I imagine.
Right. Okay. They just need somewhere to be at that time.
Yeah, but from what the person that sent this in, the lecturer, has definitely doesn't like him. You know, wrong'un's a great term because you could describe like a kid as a wrong'un, but you know, they're not like a murderer. They're just a wrong'un. But the fact this guy has kicked a dog, it's
wrong'un behavior. Yeah. Wrong. If you kick a dog, you keep it to yourself. You know.
Yeah, exactly. And if the dog snitches on you, then you know you kick off at him again. Do you know what I found? We're like, because we've got a dog now, right? And before we had a dog,
Whippet, right? It's a Whippet.
Whippet, mate. His name's Rocket. But before we got him, I was doing jokes about the fact that I wasn't like. Poppy said she wanted one. I said I didn't. And the reaction you get from people on stage when you say you don't want a dog, like people are almost like, well, why? Like there's I didn't realize how strong the connection is emotionally to dogs, because now that I've now got him, I'm like, I can't ever imagine my life without him. It's a different relationship though, because Poppy's like his master, right? So, you know, she kind of looks after everything. He knows that, as he views me like a stepdad. It's just keeps me close, but not too close. It's like
he doesn't trust you completely. He's just kind of like, you could leave.
Yeah, exactly. It's like when I come through the door and Poppy's not there, it's almost like I feel like he would say, "Hello, Harry," as if he sees Poppy. It's like, "All right, Mum." No, it's a very different vibe.
Slight distinction. Yeah, it's funny. My dog was like that with my mum because like she lived with it as I moved out and whatever. And then just like at the start, we're all living at the same home. It's like, yeah, this guy's my guy. We're good. And then like I left, and he's like, I could never trust you again.
Yeah.
He said it was a pack of cigarettes. He didn't come back for 6 weeks. Fuck you, dude.
Yeah, meeting up with all the other dogs that are jaded. Did your guy walk out on you too? Yeah, mine too. So, definitely a bit of a wrong 'un. So, but on this specific day, the lesson had just started. You counted my hand there.
No. I'm focusing. I'm focusing on the story. I'm trying to get the through line. I'm figuring it out.
So he says, but on this specific day, the lesson had just started and we were doing some kind of starter activity. Peter had made an error on one of his questions, which wasn't really surprising because he wasn't really good at maths. But what he said next made me take a double take. Oh man, I'm such a nonce, Peter said quite loudly. Now, I really hoped I wasn't having the confessions of a paedophile in my class. Because is it the same in Australia if you call someone a nonce, you're a pedo?
Well, yeah, that's a acronym, isn't it?
Nonce.
Like, yeah.
I don't have a clue. I just know if you call someone it, they're in trouble.
I don't know. I will look this up for you because we don't use that here. In Australia, we have, like, we obviously just say a pedo or, the other one, is like, we say rock spider.
What? That sounds like
Australian slang for a pedophile. Rock spider because they crawl into little cracks. That's a lot, isn't it? No, what is it? It stands. Fuck, I'll find it. It stands for something.
I never knew that.
Yeah, what does it stand for? Sorry,
I thought nonce was a word that's been bastardized into fit around, pedo.
Yeah, no, but it's a classification for how they're there we go. Not of normal criminal element.
I never knew that.
Yeah, it's not a normal criminal element, and it's because that's how they're socialized in prison. They're not allowed to be with the other prisoners.
Right. Okay. I don't tend to mix because they get battered, rightfully so.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's like they're a nonce. So that's why they have to play on their own. Otherwise, they're going to get fucked by these other criminals.
Yeah, which I don't think anyone would really mind. So, if anything, we'd advocate it, right? Wasn't hugely surprising. Not that, if people are going to go, you shouldn't pick sides on an issue. I think that's an issue you want to pick a side on,
Pedophiles. You really want to come down and...
Don't be like, they can't all be bad. No, they probably are.
Well, look, that's a discussion for another day.
Yeah. Let's not dive into that.
Yeah, the complete nightmare of victims reoffending and
mate, yeah. There's Johnny Pelham did a show in 2019.
One of the best shows ever.
Yeah, mate. Did you see it?
Johnny. Yeah, man. Yeah.
Yeah, amazing show, and I think that was very good at kind of looking at the entire area of sex offenders and paedophiles, and his show was great, wasn't it? But anyone that hasn't heard of Johnny Pelham, if you put in Johnny Pelham on Live at the Apollo, he did 7 minutes of material from the show on Live at the Apollo. I like real hard hitting stuff about the fact that he was abused as a kid. It's very, very funny, and it was probably the best show I watched that year at the Fringe for content and just like. Just to make something as tragic as that funny is difficult, and people not be like squirming in their seats. But I'm pretty sure he sold out from like week 2, but he was very good.
Yeah, he got like amazing reviews, and he said that because of that, it was just all these old people coming who wouldn't laugh the whole time, but then would give him a standing ovation at the end of the show.
Yeah, because
they were like, "You're so brave," and he's like, "Do you know how hard I've worked to make this fucking thing funny?" Yeah, and you're just going to sit there and not laugh the whole time. But
you're
I
brave.
could have just told what happened to me with no jokes. You fucking dickheads, laugh.
That's even better though. You know what I mean? Doubling down on it. They've probably stood up as well and clapped, so they're not outed. You know what I mean? There's no suspect.
Yeah, I don't want to seem like I'm sympathizing. Anyway,
Yeah,
so
right.
yes, I'm such a nonce because you can't do math.
Yeah. Oh, mate,
Imagine if that was why pedophiles fuck children. You know, like I'm born in 2004, and they're just like 2004 to 2021. They're like 40. All right, I can have sex with them. That's fine. Like it's just a math based issue the whole time.
Do you know what? I originally thought you were going to be like, you know, the fact that they couldn't understand fractions. You know what I mean? It was like, well, if I can't do this, I might as well do this. But yeah, figuring out someone's age, definitely the right way to go with it.
They're just very innocently shit at math.
Yeah.
It's like she told me she was 21, and it's like she said 17. It's like, aren't they the same, both prime numbers? I don't know. I couldn't pass GCSE maths. I'm a dumb cunt.
Right. Okay. Hang on. Where is it? Yeah, I'm such a nonce, Peter said loudly.
Yes.
Now, I hoped I wasn't having the confessions of a paedophile in my class, so I had to intervene. Peter, I said, what was that? I said, I'm such a nonce. There was obviously a few laughs from the class at this point, and I knew I had to teach this young man a life lesson. Peter, I said, what do you think a nonce is? Isn't it just an idiot? At this point, I had to kind of laugh a little bit. I felt bad for the lad, I did, but I couldn't help but wonder how often this absolute melon had been calling himself a nonce in his everyday life. Which is true, because you know what I mean? Like, how many times has that happened? He's like dropped his phone, it's like, you nonce. Or, you know, late for a lesson, nonce. Or his mum's forgot to pick him up. Mum, what are you doing, you nonce? Right, so no, mate, I said, try not to laugh too hard. A nonce is a little different, right? Maybe you should have a Google of what it means. He did, and then went very red, shrank into his trench coat. He did, then went very red, shrank into his trench coat and squawked out, I'm not a nonce.
Oh, that's good. That's good to know.
Yeah, it was a short little story from them, but I thought it was definitely worth sharing. The fact that, you know, it's an honest mistake to make, but he must have been 16, this lad. So it almost feels like too long for it to go unchecked, you know?
Yeah, someone in his life should have been like, hey, man, Peter, right? Yeah, nonce means pedophile. Not idiot.
Yeah, you know why they've nicknamed you Pete the Pedo, right? You know that. It's because I'm a bit of an idiot. No, we need to have a chat, Peter. Because imagine if that didn't go unchecked, you know, and he's like teaching his kid to ride a bike, and he's just not getting it, and he's just assaulting his kid like, you nonce! Like, come on.
I mean, I'm just loving it that, like, you know, clearly the reason he's got the definition wrong is he's overheard his parents talking about their molester uncle, like, you know, which everybody has, and they're like, he's a nonce, and he's like, yeah, I know he's a nonce, but, like, you know, he's my brother, like, whatever, I think we need to keep inviting him to Christmas. And then his uncle
just don't let him babysit.
You know, done something wrong, and then they're like, he's like, oh, he's an idiot. Okay, that's what nonce means. Okay, we figured it out. This is good. Like, we've tracked back here. But I mean, fucking brave teacher to be like, do you know what that word means? Like, and then have him look up the answer. What if he looks it up and he's just like, yeah, I'm a nonce, dude. Like, that's exactly what I am. That's exactly what I thought it was.
That's why
I got this trench coat. I'm fucking kids by the playground. Like,
I'm not wearing anything under this, by the way, guys. Just so you know, right? Okay, I thought that's how it's done, but that's what I
think I'm with the dog kicker. You know, like we're both going to prison. We're making connections early. You know.
So you think, because I tried to do like a teacher or a student, right, with each one of these, as I do think the teachers handle it very well. Because mind you, if a kid said that to me in a class, I think I'd say the same. I'd be like, do you know what that means? If they said no, I'd then say, have a Google, or I would tell them. I think if he's 16, I'd just tell him. Just be like, yeah, it's a paedophile. And then just watch their face, be like, what? Like, yes, someone who molests children. Oh, right.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's not what I am.
Yeah, I'm definitely not one of them. But I hope not, because otherwise you'll be staying in at break. Okay.
Yeah, no wonder you keep failing exams so you can keep hanging out with these fucking kids.
Yeah, you need to leave it. You're 45.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, look, well handled. Like, I think, but like potentially maybe like quietly, like not in front of the rest of the class. You know what I mean?
Take him to one side.
you could just hand him an envelope on the way out of class being like, this is what a nonce actually is.
Yeah.
And then everyone would think you're fucking him.
Yeah. So what if you went down the route of going, I'll tell you what it is, but you have to come and see the puppy that I've got in my car, and then we can discuss it. Can I ask, sir, why is it you're handing out sweets to that particular student? It's because he thinks he's a nonce, so I need to explain to him, that he's not a nonce, or at least, check that he isn't.
Yeah. Just who's your famous nonce? Gary Glitter?
There's a few, yeah. Gary Glitter. It was the Jimmy Savile.
Jimmy Savile, that's what I was thinking of.
Yeah.
It's weird how like the famous pedophiles like don't really go internationally. You know what I mean? Like
Gary Glitter,
it's very like country specific.
Gary Glitter was all over it in like Thailand.
Oh no! As in like culturally, like if you said Jimmy Savile here, no one would really get it.
Right. Okay.
But
yeah.
if you said Rolf Harris here, then people would be like,
yeah. That was well. Do you remember Joseph Fritzl?
Yes, the Austrian guy with the kid in the basement. Yeah.
Yeah. So me and my dad used to make a lot of jokes about that when I was younger. Like lot of jokes.
Former detective.
Yeah. Former police officer. But like,
have you ever? Sorry, I need to bring that up. Have you ever managed to make that bit work about your dad not watching crime shows?
No, mate. Never,
like one of the funniest things ever, and it pains me that you're not getting laughs off it. It killed me.
I said it at the start of episode 11 with Chris Washington, because he'd just been on the Line of Duty podcast, and I was saying that as a kid, we never watched that type of stuff in my house because my dad always snuffed it. Yeah, because his opinion is no crime gets solved in an hour, and it just I've tried it on stage a few times, it never gets a laugh. So I've just left it there. But yeah, when the whole the Joseph Fritzl thing came out, like me and my dad will laugh at things that are quite dark at times. So my dad would be like, right, give us a kiss, good night, Harry. See you in the morning. And then just as I'm going up, he'd go, and send your sister down. And obviously, all in good spirits. No one's getting hurt. It's all fun. But it was always great to hear my dad say that, and then see my mum's face. I'm like, Martin, like Jesus Christ. Like he's 11. Yeah, but he knows I'm joking.
He knows what a nonce is.
Yeah, exactly. He's not going to be an idiot when he's older, right? Okay. Right, there is one more bit that I want to go through with you, which is a headline story that I've got. On episode 10, I had a guest come on I basically found out about them through a news story that I found, and they were sacked from a school because of an anonymous blog that they'd put together. And since that episode, I've had like a few people send me news articles about teachers that are in the news. So I'm kind of making little sections now called Teachers in the News. I'll eventually figure out a bit of a jingle for it, but dun 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 dun.
Sure, great, love it.
And this one was sent to me, and it's great, right? So the headline was school trip strip club teacher banned. Right, so I thought, okay, this seems all right. I had a little bit more of a read. An IT teacher who threatened pupils and took some to a strip club whilst he was drunk during a school trip to Costa Rica has been banned from teaching for 3 years. Okay.
3 years.
3 years. That's the bit that surprises you. The bit that got me was the fact he taught IT.
Nah, like, dude, they're fucking animals. Like, come on, they need to get their kicks somewhere.
Way. I would have thought it would have been like a PE teacher, DT, like a bit of design technology, but not IT.
Nah,
like IT teachers were always really quiet.
It's like engineering at university. Like they're always fucking psychos. Like they go hard, Like that's the real thing, man. Engineers drink like so much and like party like crazy because like their degree is so hard.
Well, that's I lived with 4 mechanical engineers, and I can vouch for that to some extent.
Exactly. They go for it, mate. They go for it. Okay, so Costa Rica. So it's a school trip to Costa Rica, or like a Costa Rican teacher?
No, a school trip to Costa Rica, right?
From where?
Which is the school is called. It's in Northumberland. It's a private school called Longridge Towers, right?
This is the British people fucking lads on tour, lads. And then he's taking them to the strip club.
Yeah. So it's the rest of the article was private school called Longridge Towers, right? So it costs £4,850 a term for day pupils, right? Yeah. And if you're boarding, it is $9,500 per term. So the fees are through the roof, and they're going to Costa Rica for a school trip, which is insane in itself.
So crazy.
But you think with them fees, it would be like a high-end strip club. You know what I mean? You're not going to be getting some B-level dancers. You're getting like premium. You know, they've got like side gigs. They're probably, you know, influencers. But I say influencers. I've been to one strip club in my life, and it was in Poland. I got off a train after doing we were interrailing, basically. Arrived in Krakow, pissing down in rain. I'm wearing shorts and an anorak, right? Dumped my bag in the hostel, gone looking for a beer with my mates, and walked past the only place that had like a neon doorway, and I was like, I can hear music, that sounds all right. Walked inside, and it was rough, mate. And I quickly cottoned on to the fact it was a strip club, because they had, I'm going to say it's a scaffolding pole in the middle of the room, because it didn't look shiny. Pretty sure it had spray paint on it, right? it looked coarse. And
no chrome, no chrome on chrome there.
No chrome. Sat down at the bar, and was looking at the drinks menu, and I didn't realise that strip clubs drinks menus are like through the roof on prices, because you're meant to buy the girl a drink as well. And she was like, what are you going to buy me? I was like, I'm not going to buy myself one, because I'm on a budget of €50 a day, and I could have like 3 drinks in there and I'd be skint. So I'm going to go. And I'm pretty sure I'm the only man to ever come in this club in denim shorts, apart from people that work here. So,
walked in and out. Usually there's like an entry fee, so they at least get you something, you know?
Yeah, but that was it, mate. It was like as wet. It was wet as it could possibly be outside, right? Or like it was coming down in stair rods, and it was just this neon doorway in amongst the rain. I thought perfect, and I don't think they were expecting to see anyone, come in. But yeah, me and my 3 mates, and we couldn't look anything. We just looked like travellers, you know what I mean? I'm pretty sure my mate had a poncho on.
Yeah, that's what they love in a strip club, but a safe lap dance, you know what I mean? Wear that poncho, the full body condom.
But yeah, so it's a top end school. They've gone to Costa Rica, quite posh as well, I'm imagining, if you're paying $9,500 a term to board. But yeah, the guy is called Richard Glenn, right? And it says Richard Glenn's behaviour was unacceptable. He was sent home early during the school trip to Costa Rica in July 2019. The Teacher Regulation Agency heard Mr. Glenn, a 55-year-old man, admit to gross misconduct, and was dismissed in August 2019. Mr. Glenn was one of the teachers leading the group of 16 to 18-year-olds. He was supposed to be there until the 28th of June, but after 6 days was sent home early by the expedition leader due to his behaviour. Right. And then there was a list of his actions while on this school trip.
Brilliant. I love this. This is like a teacher acting like a student. This is beautiful. This should be like the class clown guy fucking going for it, getting a posse together. This is like, because I'm just picturing that Russian episode of Skins, but it's like the teacher being like, this is what we're all doing, This is the vibe.
Well, I can't, the fact it's an IT teacher, you're saying that's not surprising, but to be fair, the picture I saw of the guy, he looks like a doorman. He's massive, like got some shoulders on. Right. It's like an accountant, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Classic. A Muggleton classic.
But yeah, so actions include drinking with pupils, allowing one or more pupils to drink alcohol despite being under the age of 18. My favourite one, threatening to kick in the head of one pupil and kill another. Telling one pupil, I'm not in trouble, you're in trouble. And after being aggressive to one pupil, he kissed the boy's forehead and told him, you're all right.
Dude, this is great. I've never had like man who has had too much to drink, like had it like listed like humorously before. You know what I mean? Like these are all the signs. Like he was saying that, I'm like, I had that with a drunk Irish guy last night. Like the exact behavior, like fucking step by step. That's so funny.
Was, he wasn't wearing a lanyard, so it was okay. As this guy is like a member of staff. But you got to imagine when this is getting read out in the tribunal or whatever, it's going to be like very dry,
Yeah, of course.
So taking one or more pupils to the strip club, acting aggressively towards a woman leading the trip who tried to show him back to his tent. Which, like a tent, if you're traveling all that way to Costa Rica and you were staying in a tent, You know what I mean? You'd expect that to be at least some high level glamping experience.
Yeah.
But if you've gone all that way and they go, right, guys, we're staying on a campsite for 2 weeks, I'd be furious.
I'd be like, where's the strip club, guys? This is unacceptable.
The school, but
I want to hit that club, baby. I'm going to bring one of the strippers back to this tent. I've got a thing for Costa Ricans.
I would love to have been in the room the next day when he wakes up to realise what's happened the night before and just be like, Jesus Christ. You know, like you're just waiting. He may not even called himself a nonce, you know what I mean? I'm a nonce.
Man, I just want to, I want like, just that behavior. I'm like, you know, this guy and his wife were separated back in the UK. You know what I mean? Like, he's just found out that she's been cheating on him. Like, it's, you know, just chaos, like meltdown. And there's just these students, and he's like, I can force other men to keep me company during this downward spiral. And he's just gone for it.
Yeah, they've not mentioned on there that he's just spoke about his wife Claire for non-stop for 6 days, and it's just like,
yeah,
sir, are we going to go and see the site, do a bit of sightseeing? No, I'm going to tell you about 2007 when we went to Crete.
Yeah, the things she did to me, boys, I'll never forget. Fucking Claire, unbelievable sort, mate. Did you fuck her? Tell me the truth. And then there's like this 16-year-old kid being like, I'm a virgin. And he's like, loser. It just keeps going.
We'll change that. We're going to a strip club tonight, pal. Stick with me.
Yeah, exactly.
Let you show you how it's done.
And then the kid gets an erection at the strip club and he's like, you all right, mate? Kisses him on the forehead. Erection goes down. It's a hell of a time. It's a dream.
But how amazing of a story is that to you know, to be the teacher and actually do it, to then think what would happen afterwards. Like, private schools are, from my understanding anyway, they work completely different to like a normal curriculum. So you can like pick and choose who you hire more so than like a state school, because you don't necessarily have to have a PGCE to work in a private school,
right?
Which is like a teacher qualification. I don't know how it works over there. But yeah, he basically, the long and short of it is, he can apply again after 3 years to see if the ban can be lifted. But you know, he's got a hell of a story to share with people if he's ever in a staff room again. They're like, I had this one lesson. He's like, I went to Costa Rica for 6 days and got sent home.
Let me tell you why. For giving 6 boys the night of their lives.
Yeah. The fact he was like, you're all right. You can just, the amount of alcohol that would have been like around him, you know, I would have, in my mind, it's like tie around the side of his head. Yeah. Just from like 2:00 in the afternoon.
Yeah, it's just like such chaos. Like, I could just picture it, and like he's huge and these kids are like tiny and they're all in their blazers and he's just fucking losing it. Just like, drink the beer out of your boda, do it, you pussy. Whoa. And they're like, oh my God, this guy's the king. They think he's like the best teacher of all time.
Yeah, you'd want to be in his group on the trip, you know what I mean? Like when they're like, okay, you're with so-and-so, you're with so-and-so. I want to be with Mr. Glenn. His group's full. Yeah, no, but they've got glow sticks, so please let me go with them.
Dude, this one time Glenn gave me ecstasy. It was sick. He's a good lad, you know?
Yeah, he gave me an E. What, in your test? No, an actual E. But yeah, mate, I'm wary of time here, so I realise you've got to shoot because you've got to go and host your show.
Yes.
But yeah, thank you very much for coming on the podcast. I don't know if there's anything you would actually like to plug.
I just put a new album out, so it'd be great if people could check it out. It's called Unprecedented. My name is Daniel Muggleton, Muggleton. If you could listen to that, that'd be cool. You can find it on my Instagram at Dan Muggleton. That's where I tell people to go. Instagram, baby. Get at me on there at Dan Muggleton.
Well, I'll put that all in the show notes as well. And is it the show that you sent me the link of the other day?
No, it's the Edinburgh show plus all my COVID material. So it's like the film, it's the double CD, it's like a year apart. So like the night that I left London and then in Australia a year later. So
right, okay.
It's a bit interesting. Like that.
Well, that's it. I saw the Edinburgh show and that was good. But yeah, all your stuff's good, man. So definitely, I would say check it out. It's just
thank you.
Turnover of material's impressive.
There's
He writes
always
a lot,
jokes,
performs
baby.
a lot.
Always
Always
jokes. All right. Good to see you, man.
But yeah, likewise, man. Likewise.
And thank you for having me reveal what a shit I was as a student to everybody.
Yeah, well, which I don't know. I'm not necessarily surprised at, but it's weird that you call your mum and dad by their first names. That is odd.
I've changed now because I realize it's the dick move because I'm their only child. Like, I'm the only one who gets to call them mum and dad, and I just stubbornly didn't do it for years. But if I say dad, my dad doesn't turn around. He doesn't know. Like,
Really?
he's not used to it. Yeah.
Right, if I said that to my parents, they'd like flip their lid big time. You know,
Yeah.
it'd be like you're being rude.
Yeah, exactly. But like, yeah, for me, it was always kind of just how it always was. There was never anything to it. But anyway, I should jump. I should shoot. I should get out of here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, no worries, mate. Have a good show, and nice to see you.
You too.
Right, say hello to Mary.
I will. All right, later.
Do you know what, Peter? I know it's not your real name, but I really hope you're listening to this, because the teacher that sent that story in has done you the biggest favour they ever could. Because if they'd left that, and if that had gone unchecked, right, I'm telling you, getting a job would have been hard. Getting married would have been hard. Even if you wanted to adopt, that would have been hard. Why was it not pulled up sooner? 16 years of age and not realising that nonce doesn't mean idiot. What an absolute numpty you are. I mean, Jesus Christ. But yeah, fair play to the teacher, and thank you very much for sending that one in. Next week's story, I've got a football coach or a teacher that ended up having to coach the boys' football team, which is a different type of story. Not had one like this before. And the guest I have helping me go through it is Josh Pugh, who is a fantastic comedian and someone that I know has played a fair amount of football in the time, and at a decent standard as well. So I'll be very interested to get his input on this, the man with the magic feet. So join me next Friday with me and Josh Pugh and another story. But until then, as ever, look after yourselves and take it easy. The Staff Room podcast is produced by me, Harry Stacchini, artwork by Poppy Spinks, and the soundtrack by James McGraw.